What do you get when you take a 51-year-old gamer who loves Dungeons and Dragons, strap a good set of beer goggles on their head, and tell them that things were a little bit better back in the day when you first started playing D&D? Well, you get the Redbox Project. Welcome back, everybody. It's Dwayne here, and I hate to tell you, but I've got a little bit of a problem. Well, I don't know if it's a problem per se, but maybe it's just my mind is going backwards and starting to think about a little bit of how I used to play D&D back in the past and kind of lamenting that it's not how D&D is played now. So here's the issue. I have 3 Dungeons & Dragons groups that I run each week, and by default, I'm using the Dungeons & Dragons 2024 rules, or DnD 5e, whichever you prefer. Now, when I say by default, that's only because it's the newest version of the game, not because it's, in my mind, the best version of the game or the version that I enjoyed the most, but it seems to be probably the default version because a lot of people who are new to the hobby, which includes most of the students that I play with, it's their entry point into Dungeons & Dragons. But, I can't help but thinking that as we continue to play the game of Dungeons & Dragons, the question of, is D&D 5e really the best version that I should be using to bring D&D to these new generation of players? Now, right off the bat, you're going to say, well, of course, Dwayne, it's the 2024 version of the rules. You should be using them to teach a new generation how to play D&D. But I can't help but thinking back to when I first started playing D&D. My first introduction to the hobby was with the Red Box, or the basic set, and then moving on to the expert set. Basic D&D did evolve over time. It became expert, and then it became companion, then master rules. And taken as a whole, there's a lot of rules and a lot of expansion to those original ideas that do actually fit well within the current gaming climate. But I guess for me, the biggest challenge that I have with Dungeons & Dragons is bloat. Let's talk about what bloat is and how it's really negatively affecting the D&D experience, at least at my tables. So bloat, as described, is essentially the game getting bigger than its britches, or it's growing to the point where the original source of the game is barely recognizable. D&D bloat in 5th edition takes the form of, well, 3rd level subclasses coming into the game, and then just skyrocketing beyond that. By the time you get to 6th or 7th level, the characters are just unrecognizable. I mean, the amount of options and the amount of sheer things that a character can do within a game of D&D is just mind-boggling. I recently did an experiment where I tried to actually take a D&D Beyond character sheet at 6th or 7th level and kind of digest it myself into sort of usable parts where if I was playing a game of D&D with a Dungeon Master, would I be able to know what to do on any given moment? Now, I spent more time going over that character sheet with a magnifying glass trying to figure out what was going on. It felt like a tax audit on steroids. Than I did actually just sitting back and thinking about the game itself. That's what my players are experiencing. When power creep sets in, we're spending more time deciphering rules and trying to figure out what to do in any given moment. It's analysis paralysis. You have so many options that you can't even make one choice. So, being me and doing what I do, I tried to take an existing character from D&D Beyond's sheet system and translate it into a visual language character sheet to see if maybe my players could understand D&D 5e's options and rules a little bit better and make the game a little bit more enjoyable. So this is what I've got. So you'll see on the screen, essentially it's a full-out 11 by 14 character sheet. It's a landscape format. Now, I designed this with the intention of actually giving these to the players in printed form so that they could lay them out on the table in front of them. It has all the information that a D&D Beyond character sheet has, just laid out in a visual manner to help with understanding what they can do and what abilities and functions that they have. Now, even with this visual language approach, this character sheet is a nightmare. It's a pure nightmare. Now, I can barely understand the amount of options available, let alone my players being able to decipher it. But it's all I can do. D&D 5e is the way it is. It's the game. So I either not play D&D 5e or I look at ways to make the game a little bit more digestible for the players. Or is there an option that we can go back? So the Redbox Project is my way of revisiting the original Dungeons & Dragons that I grew up and I loved. It is a very basic system. D&D 5e is the advanced version of what I grew up playing, but not to say it's the better version. The basic sets, or BX as they refer them on the interwebs, are a combination of the basic, expert, companion, and master box sets that came out back in the 80s. These are core rules that Dungeons & Dragons were built upon, but for today's audience, they almost seem archaic. But maybe that's the simplicity of it. Maybe that's the whole point. Maybe having less options provides a little bit more of a flavorful experience, or something that players will enjoy more than necessarily having the kitchen sink and every other appliance thrown in under the hood. So what I've done, and I know many others who have come before me are doing this right now, or have tried and done it. The difference is I'm building this for a different generation. I'm not building this to sell it, and I'm not building it to market it. I'm building it for myself, and I'm building it for my players. My Redbox project is being built in Google Docs. So the idea is that I'm taking all of the original sets and I'm giving them a new reflavor from a visual standpoint. And I'm also just rewriting the rules using some of my own sensibilities as far as how I would teach the game to a younger audience or to a new audience. Maybe updating things and how they're worded, and presentation being a big thing as well. No longer restrained to just black and white print, I can create these pages and these documents in such a way that new learners will be able to pick the game up and maybe put a fresh spin on the game. Let's have a look at what I've got done so far and ease off on the flame. So you'll see here that I'm using Google Docs, and Google Docs is just the easiest way for me to get some of this content down on the page. I'm breaking it down into subcategories, and ultimately this document will be available for anybody who wants it. My primary goal is to show my players and my students that D&D doesn't have to be bloated and heavy and detailed and complex as it is currently in its current form, to show them that once upon a time there was a D&D game that emphasized fun and imagination over concrete rule sets. So I'm basically laying out the game in different chapters and starting from the basics, also showing them how the dice work, and essentially just giving flavor to the game as it was written back in the 80s. Using AI artwork, I'm able to actually take my imagination and translate that into concrete images. I know, everybody's upset about the use of AI artwork. And, honestly, as an artist myself, I am an artist. I can draw, I can do all of this stuff, but the amount of time it takes me, and also, I am not able to create some of the visual images that AI create. I don't think this is a bad thing. I think if I can use this tool responsibly, and keeping in mind, I am the one actually creating all the prompts, so I'm actually describing what I see in my mind, and the AI is just basically generating the images for me. I hope I can use this responsibly and hopefully help the new players who are onboarding get a visual sort of reaction to the game rules. So all in all, you'll see that I am taking big steps to make sure that I preserve the integrity of the original game, but just changing the wording and such as it goes. I'm also compiling all of the books as well, taking into account that they had the expert, companion, and master sets. I need to make sure that those rules are embedded in the one document as opposed to breaking them out into separate subcategories or box sets as they were back in the day. This will also go along with a monster compendium at some point for my own personal use, not for player digestion. But again, I'm going to reflavor it, make sure that I have updated imagery and more of a concise layout so that when I do start running games with this system, I'll be able to access the information very quickly. Now, I don't know if my players are going to be even interested in this. Going back is hard. Sometimes they say you shouldn't go back. But I think in the current state of things, I'm looking forward at my games, and I can start to see players tuning out here and there. I can start to see their attention wavering. It becomes too much for them. The game rules and the amount of decision making and everything, it gets overwhelming. And when you're dealing with neurodiverse people like I do when I'm playing my games, it can be too much. So I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to see where this takes me. Hopefully I don't pitter out before the completion of it. And when it is done, I do intend to make this available. So have a look. If you do want to access this, I'm going to put a link to it in the description here. This will be a view-only document on my Google Drive, and it will be updated and added to as time goes along. So if you do go ahead and decide to access this document in its view-only state, keep checking back and see what changes I've made to it. I hope you're all having fun playing D&D out there, regardless of what version you're playing, and we'll talk to you soon. Before you go, I need your help. I'm trying to grow the exposure of what we do here at Maverick Games. My goal is to actually bring information to parents and students for fun, academics, and even support of neurodivergency. Please subscribe and make sure you click on those notifications.
I don't do paid ads or sponsorships. And I hope that you can find content here that's enjoyable for yourself and maybe others. Thank you very much, and thanks for tuning in.